Shout out to G-Man Boxing. Where's the piss bottle? It's over there.
So this weekend we have Teofimo Lopez defending his lightweight titles against mandatory challenger George Kambosos Jr. Now this fight actually taking place on the Zone. Was originally meant to be on Triller, but as we all know, this fight has been on and off like a teenage relationship. It's just been it was meant to be on Triller. I think they had a date. Was it early this year? And then it was kind of moved to May. And then Teofimo Lopez, pinged affirmatively for He Who Shall Not Be Named, and it got moved back again. And then it was, I think, August, and Triller were having it. It's just been an absolute joke. It's gone onto the Zone now, and we see him, touch wood, that we're going to get this fight this week. How did we come here? Now, Teofimo Lopez obviously won his titles from Vasily Lomachenko. Seems like such a long time ago, October of last year. Now, he's been out of the ring since then. But likewise has George Kambosos Jr. Now, George Kambosos Jr. is the IBF mandatory as far as I believe. I think that's the sanctioning body he's mandated for. He won that, he inherited, I should say, mandatory status by beating Lee Selby, which was on the Usyk Chisora undercard. Now, in that fight, and that's probably Kambosos' best win. I should say, prior to that fight, I'd seen Kambosos in his fight against Mickey Bay. And he struggled a bit in that fight. He did. Let's not make any mistakes. But he won it, in my opinion. He won it. And I kind of thought to myself, it's probably, that fight there was maybe a bit too soon. Just looking at from what I saw from Kambosos in terms of his skill set, his repertoire, I kind of thought, okay, there's a bit of talent there. There is. Maybe a Mickey Bay was a bridge too soon. Not that he couldn't beat him, he obviously could, but maybe he would have beaten him more decisively with another couple of fights behind him. So when they announced Selby, I picked him to beat Lee Selby. But I just thought Lee Selby is the sort of guy who could, again, maybe in 2 more fights, he'd have been able to, beat Lee Selby comfortably. But Lee Selby is the kind of guy who could mess him around a bit and make him look not as good as he potentially could be, because he's just still a little bit in the learning phase. It's the best way to describe it. Now, a fight against Lee Selby was scored a split decision as well. I don't know how, because in my opinion he won the fight. Lee Selby had a bit of success early on, and then Kambosos just took over. He really came into it strong near the end, and he took over very comfortably, very decisively. Now, that's his best win. Now, no disrespect to Lee Selby, but I never rated him even at featherweight. And that was really the division where he was at his best. He bypassed super feather, went to lightweight. Never really rated him a feather. I know he was a world champion, but he did absolutely zilch with that belt, apart from lose to Josh Warrington. I always looked at Lee Selby and thought he could box a bit, but there was never anything to him. He wasn't exactly physical. He couldn't punch. He couldn't really do much other than just box. He had a bit of speed. And I used to think to myself, I'm going a bit off top, but I used to think to myself, am I missing something with him? Because I remember Tom, Boxing Gossip, if anyone remembers his channel. It's a guy I used to watch a few years ago. His channel is still there, but he hasn't uploaded in about 3 years. He was a very good YouTube channel as well. But he was very big on Lee Selby, and I respected his opinion on boxing a lot, because I used to watch a lot of his videos. And I used to look at him and think, Lee Selby, and think, well, if Boxing Gossip says he's good, well, there must be something. But I used to just watch him and think, no, we have to disagree there, because I'm not seeing anything. And I actually picked Warrington to beat him, which he did. But he took that fight last year. It was his last fight. And as I said, it was split decision. It should have been unanimous in my opinion. Selby had moments of success where he made Kambosos look a little bit wonderment, look a little bit poor in parts. But once Kambosos warmed into the fight, he took control. Now, it was after that fight actually they announced that this would be Teofimo Lopez's next fight against Kambosos. And I'm going to be frank. At the time when this was announced, I really was just kind of like, really? Kambosos? No offense to him, but Teofimo is there. Kambosos, although there's talent there, it reminds me a bit of, this is probably a poor analogy, but it's kind of similar, of Erickson Lubin when he fought Charlo. See a good fighter there, but it's too soon. It's too soon for him in his development as a fighter to be going in with arguably the best in the division. Some people would say Haney, some people would say Lomachenko still is, Teofimo. They're all great fighters. For me, it was arguably a bit too soon. He needed maybe another year and a couple more fights. We're in this situation now. Now, as I said, when this fight was announced, I was picking Teofimo Lopez to win in similar fashion to how he did against Richard Comey, where George Kambosos would overcommit to a shot, be there to be countered, because Teofimo Lopez is extremely sharp puncher, extremely sharp. You know, his right hand, his left hook as well, but specifically his right hand, very powerful punch. And I kind of thought that what Kambosos will do is he'll come in looking to exchange, because it's actually not too bad in the exchange, but his defense is extremely poor. Like, his defense is not very good for Kambosos anyway. He's happy to kind of take one and give one. That's fine against Lee Selby. Lee Selby's not a puncher. Teofimo Lopez is. You can get away with that against Lee Selby. Lee Selby's not too good in the inside anyway, but you can get away with that against him. Likewise against Mickey Bay. You're not going to get away with it against Teofimo Lopez. If you're giving him a free shot, you better make sure when you hit him, you're hitting him even harder, because he is going to absolutely hit you like a brick house. So I kind of thought he'll walk onto a shot, bit similar to the Richard Comey fight, and Teofimo Lopez is a good finisher. That will be how it ends. Now, curveball. Because this fight's been going on for so long, or it's been dragged out for so long, Teofimo Lopez, excuse me, has been out of the ring now for a year. Now, Lopez is a fighter who relies a bit on timing, and his timing is very good, but you'll often find when a fighter, especially a boxer, someone who relies on timing, is out of the ring for a prolonged period of time, I would say about 10 months to a year, in around that time frame. That's when you start to see the timing start to diminish a little bit, but certainly early on in the fight. And it does take a little bit of time in the ring anyway on fight night for the timing to come. Now, it will come back, obviously, but it might not be there early on. So potentially early on, if I was in Team Kambosos, I'd be saying, well, two things, and I'll touch on the second thing now in a minute. But if you are doing exchanges, try your best to be a little bit more cognizant of what's coming back at you. All right, try and be the first to lead first. Right, get out of range, and if you're in exchanges, do what you need to do and get out. You're also going to want to target Teofimo Lopez's body, and I'll tell you why. And actually, Kambosos Jr. is actually quite a good body puncher as well. If you go and look at some of his highlights or some of his fights, he can throw good shots to the body. What I would say with the body punching is Teofimo Lopez, it's not a secret, it's not a rumour mill, it's been known probably since about 2018, 2019, that he is tight at 135. He is. We've talked about that 2019, about Teofimo Lopez being quite tight at 135 pounds, and it's only a matter of time before he ends up going to 140. You know, some people said it might even be before Lomachenko. He might not get the Lomachenko fight because he might physically have to go to 140. Now, he's still at 135 for now. He's had to make weight over and over again. Well, he's had to try and start to make the making weight process and then stop. A lot of people feel as though that's why the fight in its original date back in May or June was pulled, because Teofimo Lopez just was struggling to make the weight. And I well believe it. I mean, I remember Tyrone McKenna was meant to fight in Dubai on the Frampton Heron undercard, and you know, his opponent pinged affirmatively, and he said basically, Tyrone McKenna said he was out there, he was in sweatsuits the night before, couldn't get the weight off, that's all it was. So he never got that fight. So I'd well believe something similar for Teofimo Lopez. He's very tight at the weight, and if you are tight at the weight, and especially because he's staying in that weight probably longer than he wants, and his body is just going to grow naturally and fill out naturally, because he is getting, he's still a young man, but he's a year older, it will fill out naturally. He's had to stop camps, start them. All that will take a hindrance on you, especially if you're struggling to make weight. So if he is struggling to make weight, if you want to take the sting out of his shots, if you're Kambosos Jr., from the very first second, you are going to want to invest in the body of Teofimo Lopez, and invest, because taking some of the air out of his tires, as they say, is slow his legs down a bit. If he is making weight or having trouble making weight, the body shots will hurt him more, because, you know, it'll be a little bit, you know, kind of around that area, you know, taking the weight off. And as well as that, you'll probably take the sting out of some of his shots. Look at Lomachenko. Lomachenko early on, I think, was kind of taken aback by the size and the punching power and the accuracy of Teofimo Lopez. Once Teofimo Lopez started to tire and the punching power, he was able to kind of acclimatise with that. He came on a lot stronger in that fight. I still felt Teofimo won it, but Lomachenko certainly had his success in the second half of the fight. So if I'm in Team Kambosos, I'm saying, right, try and get into the exchanges first. Be cognizant of what's coming back at you. Don't stay there too long that he can, catch you with a counter or time you coming in. Now, be a bit sophisticated. Use a jab maybe to get inside, because as I've said before, a jab has so many different tools. It's so many different. Even if you're a shorter fighter, a jab is just such a key weapon. You could be outreached by someone, but if you double or triple your jab, it will, even if you're at the end of another person's jab, it will actually help you also get inside, because it is something to think about for the opponent. It blinds the opponent. So you're Teofimo Lopez, or you're George Kambosos Jr., I should say, use the jab. The jab is there to use. It's a tool. It's the most important punch in boxing. You can use that as a tool to get inside and get some work done on Teofimo Lopez's body, and I'd be advising that strongly. So that's what I think George Kambosos Jr. should do. With Teofimo Lopez, I think he's superior. I think he's superior in punching power. I think he's superior in every way. I really do. And I think that if this fight had happened earlier, like early 2021 or early this year, I should say, it'd have gone similar to the Comey fight. But because Teofimo Lopez has been out of the ring for a little bit of time, I think it might go a bit longer. He might need a couple of rounds to get his timing a bit right. But I'll be frank, I can see Teofimo Lopez ending this fight similar to the Comey fight. I can see this fight going about 5 or 6 rounds. That's how long I think it'll take him to kind of get his reflex, get his timing good enough that he can counter George Kambosos coming in. And I think that's what he'll do. I think he'll wait for Kambosos to come in, overcommit with some shots, maybe try and get into an exchange. And I think he'll get the better one of the exchanges, or he'll walk him into a right hand. The right hand is going to be crucial for Teofimo Lopez in this fight. He's a very good right hand. He's a very good straight right hand. And I really do see this fight as being a case of when, not if, for Teofimo Lopez. I think there's things George Kambosos can do in order to stay in there and potentially, because stranger things have happened, potentially give himself best chance of winning. I don't think it will happen. I think Teofimo Lopez is just going to be looking to counter, similar how he did against Richard Comey. And I think that Kambosos is going to give him a target to hit. He's not going to be too hard to find, certainly in the head department anyway. And I think Teofimo Lopez will be just sitting back, looking for a counter, waiting to kind of, let the right hand go. And he's very fast with the right hand, very accurate when he has his timing right. And I see this as being a case of Teofimo Lopez landing on George Kambosos and taking him out. I could be wrong. As I said, stranger things have happened. The weight issue could be an issue. It genuinely could. I don't know how tough. I think Kambosos looks more comfy at the weight than Teofimo Lopez does. I don't know how tough this weight cut could be. For definite, I expect this to be win, lose, or draw. Teofimo Lopez's last fight, 135 pounds. I just can't see him. Do you know something? Even if he got a Ryan Garcia fight, a Tank fight, Devin Haney fight, I can't see him sticking at 135, because I just think, and especially if he's, struggling a little bit in there, or maybe not looking his best, he might turn around and say, do you know what, maybe I could do 135 again for a Tank Davis, for a Ryan Garcia, for a Devin Haney. But it's taken that much out of me to do it, that it'll take away from my performance, and I need to be at my A game. And believe you me, people, if you say it's only £5 to 140, when you're cutting a lot of weight, £1 is a big difference. Hence the reason why Canelo used to fight at 155 Canelo weight, because that one pound made all the difference. Look at him when he fought Liam Smith after fighting Amir Khan. It was only £1. You could tell on the scales that £1 was a difference. It's crazy to think that was 5 years ago that Canelo was fighting at 154. Crazy. And we're talking about him going to cruiserweight now, imagine. But that's my thoughts on this fight. 5th or 6th round. That's my pick. I'm actually looking forward to this fight now more than I was at the start. I said that, and I'm probably going to stay up and watch this. It's on the zone, so I'll watch it. That's my pick. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section below. I'd be very interested to see what you guys think, who you feel will win, and how you feel it'll happen. Am I selling Kambosos short? Am I giving him too much credit? And some of you guys think this is a foregone conclusion. Teofimo Lopez is just going to wipe this kid out. Let me know in the comment section. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you could, please smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the all notification bell. Helps your boy out. For now, lads and lassies, I'll talk to you.